Welcome to Comptroller's Corner. I'm your host, Pat Curry, joined as always by Buffalo Comptroller Mark Schroeder. Have you ever been paid to sleep? Well, several city employees have been, and you as the taxpayer are paying for it. Not only are employees in the fire department civilian dispatch office working 48-hour shifts, they're also being paid to sleep up to 10 hours on those shifts. As an audit of the fire department by Comptroller Schroeder found, Mark, now this is very disturbing that because of the understaffing of the civilian dispatch office, which is missing about a person a day,
right,
that taxpayers are footing the bill to pay employees, often time and a half, to sleep on the job. In fact, there's beds set up at the dispatch office for employees to sleep. Now, while that's good that they're not on a 48-hour shift without sleep, it's very disturbing that taxpayers are asked to foot the bill for this understaffing, this mismanagement that's occurring in the fire department.
So it's quite unusual. It's very unorthodox. I'm not aware of any fire department in the nation, in the state, that operate this way. And so it's a little disturbing. The mayor and the different people on his management team are trying to suggest that this is something that makes sense, and to most people out there, Patrick, it doesn't make any sense at all. Especially, this is a public safety problem. You do not want a dispatcher that's working multiple hours, days linked together, to be able to identify certain things that are going on in the Buffalo community. It just doesn't make any sense at all. I'm not certain either. We can only do what we can do, and we've done the audits, and then I've suggested that we need to send this audit to others so that they can take a look at it. One of the others could also be the New York State Office of Civil Service. It makes no sense to do it this way, and if they were managed properly, and I'm certain that they're not. I've been the Buffalo City Comptroller for the last 6 years. We've done over 60 audits, and that I can tell the citizens of Buffalo there is serious mismanagement going on. There are people in positions who are not capable of doing the job. And the mayor has the responsibility to appoint. He also has the ability to understand if they're not doing the job, he has to move them either out or somewhere else and put in the appropriate person. That is not happening in the city of Buffalo, especially within the fire management, of which the commissioner left abruptly, right before this audit really came out, and that the media, kind of pounced on it, and all of a sudden the commissioner is not available to comment, and Kevin Helfer is commenting. And last time I looked, Patrick, he's the commissioner of parking.
And he responded to your last audit over 18 months ago, and since then the problem's gotten much, much worse since he's been involved. So why would he become involved again in this, especially because he's parking commissioner, has no relation to fire?
Well, this is a question, for the mayor, and the mayor needs to answer these questions. This is not a political question. This is governance. And by having a parking commissioner involved intimately, not only now, but as you indicate, almost 2 years ago, to try to solve the situation which we in the audit department suggested strongly there are problems, and we always give recommendations. They've been unable to implement any of the recommendations. So the amount of overtime and going on within police and fire is problematic. And this isn't a question about police officers. This isn't a question about firefighters. This is about mismanagement of other staff, not the ones who are sworn to protect the city of Buffalo. This is why it's sort of mind-boggling that this could go on for 2 years after we initially gave them recommendations initially.
Now, you mentioned that these are civilian positions where we're seeing the most overtime per employee, sometimes over 400 hours per employee of overtime for these civilian jobs. Now, these are office workers, these are mechanics, these are dispatchers, people that are non-uniformed personnel. They're not firefighters, they're not police officers. They just work in those departments, and there's a particular problem in civilian dispatch now in the fire department. Now, the civilian dispatch has increased dramatically since the last time you did the audit, but the startling fact is that there were 137 instances of employees in dispatch working 24-hour shifts, and even 7 instances of employees working 48-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Now, they're allowed to sleep during these shifts, but when the fire department was asked if you were adequately staffed, would you have to pay employees to sleep? They said no, they wouldn't.
Right.
And that they're missing basically a person a day. This is not because somebody called in sick or someone's on vacation time. They're understaffed by a person a day at least, and it's built into the system. This is something that's built into the system. Now, your audit team actually went back and looked. There's this argument that, well, because you have to pay benefits to a new employee and you have to pay retirement, you might be saving some money, but that is hogwash because your auditors, who are all CPAs, did a study, and they found out that you start saving money on the new employee's second month on the job. So 12 months in a year, right? So you hire a new employee, say you hire him January 1st, by February 21st, the city's saving money rather than paying these other employees, many of whom, have connections to certain people and certain departments. Rather than them getting the overtime, it should be hiring new employees, and the city would be saving money that way, especially because new employees make less money than current employees. New employees contribute less and cost less for the retirement, for FICA, for all these things. These new employees cost the city less and less and less, and you found that after just a few weeks, the city started saving money by hiring, yet they still haven't done it.
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, we do have, 10 certified public accountants in audit and control, but you know what? We could have taken an intern from the Buffalo Bills who understands analytics, and they probably could have figured out what you just said, that they could probably put on some employees who are working on the job and who are really concentrating on trying to solve some of these situations of public safety issues in the city of Buffalo. And so it's pretty clear to me that the mayor and his administration, they were caught red-handed on this situation, and now they're trying to make the public feel that, oh yeah, this was the plan all along. We plan to have people sleep during the course of the night or the day so that they can then do their job. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's unorthodox. It doesn't happen anywhere else. Why does it happen here in Buffalo? The reason why it happens here in Buffalo is because there's mismanagement going on. And so what's very interesting too, Patrick, I mean, listen, let's be clear about this. Everybody knows in Buffalo that there's a mayoral race going on. Not one time, Patrick, not one time, I've done over 60 audits, not once has the mayor ever said that this audit or this report was politically motivated. He didn't say it when we issued the second report on the dispatchers. Didn't say it. So this is all about governance. This is all about management. This isn't about politics. This is about managing the taxpayers' money and creating public safety for the citizens of Buffalo. That's what this audit's about.
Now, you mentioned management. Right now, there's no commissioner for the parking or for the fire department, even if the parking commissioner is speaking for some reason as the leader of that department. Do you see this very important post that covers one of the largest departments in the city sitting vacant for
what's disrespectful?
For how long?
Yeah, I think it's disrespectful to the citizens of Buffalo. Listen, there are deputy commissioners in fire. Everybody knows it. It's clear. And so one of the things that the mayor always should be doing is creating bench strength so that if a commissioner decides to leave or if a commissioner is fired, you have somebody coming up to replace. That's called bench strength. And I'm certain that there is bench strength within the Buffalo Fire Department. Why the mayor is choosing not to use the bench strength, not to use the deputies that he's appointed over the years, over the long 12 years that he's been mayor, why he has not given them the responsibility to manage this department is beyond me to why you would go to the commissioner of parking. It doesn't make any sense. He's not a sworn officer of the department. He is not a CPA. He isn't on the finance team of the mayor's cabinet member Donna Estrich. So it just doesn't make any sense to me to why. I mean, he has a political background. He was a councilman. He was an elected official. I suppose maybe the mayor thinks he can talk a pretty good game, but it doesn't make any sense the way things are working right now. And they need to make some drastic changes within the management team of the fire department, and they need to stop this practice, which is ridiculous. It's unorthodox, it's unusual, it's not safe, and it doesn't make any sense at all.
Now, you mentioned that this problem has been addressed, even though the first audit you did on this was over 18 months ago. The parking commissioner was involved in that, so it's really under his watch that these 48-hour shifts are happening, that these 137 24-hour shifts. So with him involved still, is the problem just going to get worse and worse and worse? It seems like there's no attention to detail, and the problem is not getting addressed.
Yeah, and no, it's not being addressed, and I believe what's happening right now, they just kind of want this issue to go away. The problem, Patrick, is that it doesn't go away unless they fix it, because as you know, and as the auditors know, and as the CPAs know, and as my deputies know, that when we do an audit, we always do follow-up audits, always. It's something that we put in place, 5.5 years ago when I became the comptroller. So if they don't fix the problem, we won't even wait a year. We'll probably have to come right back to it in 3 months or in 6 months, and to say, listen, we gave you all of these recommendations. If you insist on doing it the way you've been doing it, it's not working. It's creating problems. It's creating overtime that doesn't have to be. It's creating stressful situations for citizens of Buffalo who are away from their family for 24, 48 hours. They didn't sign up for that. And so, it's interesting, and I'm not going to get into, going to union leaders and saying, is this something that you should be looking at? Should you be doing a grievance? I'm not the mayor yet. The mayor is the mayor, and he needs to be managing. And so that is what is distressful to me. He needs to manage this.
Now, I just wanted to bring up the fiscal impact of this overtime. Overtime topped $10 million this past fiscal year just for the fire department. And police, it's averaging about $14 million. So that's about $25 million. A lot of it is these civilian employees who aren't public safety officers. But that's $25 million per year for overtime that could be addressed if the staffing was just adequately staffed. If enough people were in these positions and there weren't all these vacancies, there wouldn't be this excessive overtime. And just a matter of management.
It's a domino situation too, Patrick. Not only are there management problems here by doing it this way, not only are there problems to employees, not only are there problems for the constituents who need the services of the city of Buffalo Fire and Fire and Police, but also, the rating agencies, of which over my tenure as comptroller, we have earned 3 upgrades. And when the mayor continually uses fund balance each and every year because they're not managing the city's finances properly, it is concerning to the rating agencies. Now, the rating agencies may not know that there are people working 48 hours, but what they do know is that there's overtime that exceeds $20 million from those 2, public safety entities, and that's troubling.
All right, Mark, we have to take a brief break.
Okay.
Stay tuned for more Comptroller's Corner after this message.
Are you unemployed, underemployed, or do you need to improve your job skills? Then the Buffalo Employment and Training Center is here for you. The Buffalo Employment and Training Center is your one-stop employment shop. Whether you need help with your search, access to information, seminars, or training, our expert and caring staff is here for you. And the best part is, all of our services are free. The Buffalo Employment and Training Center is conveniently located at 77 Goodell Street in downtown Buffalo with plenty of free parking. For more information, call 856-JOBS or visit us on the web at www.workforcebuffalo.org.
Hi, welcome back to Comptroller's Corner. Well, it took 16 months of lawyers looking at it, but the BMHA has now admitted that Comptroller Schroeder was right all along. It does owe taxpayers $4.2 million. Now, Mark, you might feel vindicated by this, but more so you're troubled that it took so long to come to this obvious conclusion that you were right. That this $4.2 million that the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority owes to taxpayers is a legitimate debt, and they owe it to taxpayers, and you don't really care who's sitting on the board and who's resigning and who's replacing them and who's advising them. You care when are taxpayers going to get their $4 million back that the BMHA owes.
Yeah. So what's troubling to me goes back to the beginning when we investigated this, and the BMHA, they tried, the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority Board, which is all appointed by the mayor's, it's the mayor's people, okay? He appoints them. They run, this is a shadow government run by the mayor. These are the mayor's people who run the BMHA. So let's be clear about that. What they tried to do is they tried to sweep it under the rug. They tried to waive it, and they have no authority to do that.
Right. The BMHA tried to write off the debts, even though the city told them, never told them that they could do so. And the city continued.
They don't
to
have
ask
the authority to do it. The only ones who can even look at it would be the Buffalo Common Council, and they were asleep. They were asleep. So we awoken them, and we told them what happened. And this has gone on for a long, long time, Patrick. And we also knew from the Corporation Council, which, by the way, is appointed by the mayor, and the Corporation Council agreed with us and has continued to agree with us. So now, with 40 days or so to go to the mayoral election, the mayor now has seen fit to restructure the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority. Very interesting, because he's been the mayor for 12 years. He's been responsible for the BMHA for 12 years. And so now for him to do the moves, take people off, put more people on, and then what's really galling to me is that because there's going to be new people on, they're going to look at this again to see if the BMHA owes the taxpayers of the city of Buffalo $4.2 million. Are you kidding me? These are individuals who are, this is another set of individuals that are going to be appointed by the mayor, and they are going to re-look at this to see if the BMHA, after the audit and control said yes, after the Corporation Council said yes, now they're going to look at this again. It's a delay tactic. What they're trying to do is get through this election. They don't want to talk about it, and they're not going to talk about it. You're not going to hear another word about the BMHA board. You're not going to hear about when their next meeting is, if they have one. You're not going to hear about when they're going to hire a new director, if they do. You're going to hear nothing about that until after September 12th.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Mark, because normally the Common Council has its regular meeting, and then the next week it has committee meetings, and then the week after that they have a regular meeting. Now there's a recess in August, right? So the Common Council would normally have committee meetings in between the two regular council meetings. For some reason, the committee meetings aren't being scheduled in between the last council meeting where you filed your $4.2 million debt owed to the city by BMHA. That was taken up by the council on July 25th. There's no committee meetings in between that meeting and the next council meeting, which is September 5th. The first Common Council Committee meeting is going to be September 12th.
Yeah.
That's an interesting day. Now, this is unprecedented. Normally, there's always committee meetings in between regular council meetings. In fact, there was one on the calendar for August 1st, but it suddenly disappeared off the website. And then now there's going to be no committee meetings in between. And so the public and the tenants of BMHA aren't going to have any sort of opportunity to speak out on this issue until September 12th.
The press here in Buffalo has been somewhat limited to what they're saying. I think they know what's going on, but more importantly than the press, the people of Buffalo, and especially those residents who live in the 26 different housing developments across the city called Buffalo Municipal Housing, they understand exactly what's happening. They understand that they have been the guinea pigs for the last 12 years. They understand they get no attention. What's even worse than the $4.2 million that's owed the city is that the conditions and the way that most of the developments look. It's the conditions, it's the lack of maintenance, it's the lack of care, it's the lack in the wintertime of heat. It's just mismanaged. And they can say that there's been cuts from the federal government, and I'm certain that has taken place. But listen, good managers know how to manage. They know how to figure out things. And if you go into some of these housing developments across the city, I've gone into all of them, and I am telling you, it's not fair for those who live in this affordable housing opportunity. It's not fair, it's not right, and something is going to be done about it soon.
Now, you mentioned the tenants here. They live in these deplorable conditions in some cases, but the private developers always seem to get paid at the end of the day. The ones that the BMHA contracts with on these, then there's not a lot of transparency out there on these kind of projects. But sure enough, we even saw with Frederick Douglass that the private developer who was involved, they made sure that private developer got paid, and it ended up coming out of the city of Buffalo's coffers.
Sure.
So the taxpayers ended up, keep on benefiting, these private developments. It seems like the BMHA is a little focused on too much on helping out these private developers than helping the 10,000 tenants that live in these facilities.
And so, just with the naked eye, if you just go to Frederick Douglass, you will see that it looks much different there than the Perry development, the Perrys, and or Schaefer Village, and a number of places across the city of Buffalo. So what's good for one should be good for all. So if there's a method, if there's a management style that brings in developers to make these affordable housing units better, then it should be for all, just not for some. And again, here we go again. It's the tale of two cities here. Even within affordable housing, it's the tale of two cities, and it just needs to stop. And the mayor, he needs to really take hold of this. The mayor needs to manage this. It's the responsibility of the mayor and nobody else. And he's got a job to do, over the next several months to straighten this out and this restructuring. And you're right, there'll be no conversation about this until after the primary.
Actually, the day of.
Yeah. And this is all done by design. The mayor and the different policymakers in the city of Buffalo, they think that the people of Buffalo are not with it. They think that they're oblivious. They think that they're blind to these things. And I can assure you they're not. They know what's going on.
Or maybe they're afraid that they aren't blind to it and they would show up at a committee meeting that is not being held. They fast-tracked the appointments to the BMHA board so those didn't go to committee, so the residents of BMHA couldn't speak their voice on that. They canceled committee meetings. There's no committee meetings until September 12th, so it's been 6 weeks, over a month and a half before anyone gets to speak about the $4.2 million that BMHA owes the taxpayers. The taxpayers and the residents of BMHA can't chime in on this new board they're putting in. It's almost, it's not democratic. It's not transparent. The public is being shut out of the process, kind of like in the Central Terminal saga. It just seems like there's a disdain for what the public wants, or even letting the public have an opportunity to speak on
Yeah,
something.
there's a lot of examples, Patrick. What brings to mind is also the Green Code. I mean, the Green Code isn't even dry yet. It took the administration 10 years to come up with it. It's not even dry. And I went to a council meeting, and the planning board was there, all appointees of the mayor, and the developer comes in and offered 6 variances. 6 variances. So I'm sitting there in my seat and thinking to myself, well, they've just completely ignored the Green Code, and they're making it up as they go along. And that is the reason why citizens should be wary.
Essentially, they get the Green Code, and then while it takes effect,
Yep.
just throw it in the trash.
Yep.
If it doesn't fit what a private developer wants
and so
to do.
it's troubling, and but the people of Buffalo, they know what's happening, and they have an opportunity to do something about it.
Now, Mark, on a lighter note, there's been a lot of community events this summer. Busy summer. You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
Tell us
Thank
a little
you.
bit about the events happening all over
Well,
Buffalo.
Buffalonians are so great, east, west, north, and south. They care about their neighborhoods. They do events so that they can bring in some revenue so they can put it back in the community, period. This is what happens across the city of Buffalo. So I've been to Summerfest, Our Lady of Charity, St. Ambrose. I've been to Pets in the old First Ward. I've been to the Pappy Martin events at Martin Luther King Park. Again, this is an opportunity to bring some money in, and then they give it back to the community, especially to help young kids become musicians. That was Pappy Martin's legacy. The grease pole was unbelievable within the Puerto Rican community at the Alaventia Center. And South Park High School won again. Every year, alums from South Park High School, they've won like 6 years in a row going up that grease pole, and that is skill. That is skill. National Night Out was just this past week, and these are block clubs who do good work for our city, volunteers every day, but it's their night to shine for National Night Out, and I went to a number of events on the east side, on the west side, on the north side, and in South Buffalo. I go to the Slow Roll every Monday night to welcome back those bike riders who are traveling through the city of Buffalo. It was at Kearns Bowling Alley over in the Schiller Park area the other day. Kearns Bowling Alley is owned by an African American. It's the only African American owned bowling alley in New York State, and he's so grateful to Slow Roll because you have people from across Erie County coming there, and maybe sometime they'll go there and bowl or do an event there. So these are good things that help Buffalo each and every day. And then there's so many other events coming up shortly. The Irish Fest in South Buffalo, the Puerto Rican Hispanic Parade coming to Niagara Street. There's the Black Rock Riverside events this weekend. Every Wednesday night I go to Peg's Park, Buffalo Riverfest Park. She has events there so that the revenues coming in can help that most pristine park I've ever seen. It's more pristine than anything on the Hudson River at the Buffalo Riverfest Park in the old First Ward. These are people who are doing things for their community and in a fun way, bringing everybody together. So it has been a busy summer. I'm going to continue on that track, and I'll report back at the next meeting.
Well, that's all the time we have for Comptroller's Corner.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks for joining us. And thanks for joining us at home. Make sure to check out the City Comptroller's website at city-buffalo.com/comptroller. Make sure you check out our Facebook page, our Twitter handle, and our YouTube channel. On behalf of Mark Schroeder, this is Pat Curry, signing off.